I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name's David, and I thought I knew my wife, Emily, pretty well. We've been married for about 5 years now, and honestly, I'd always considered us solid. She's a tough woman, hard to crack, quick to lie if it meant saving her ass, but I figured that was just her personality. Still, I trusted her, or at least I thought I did. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was stable. We had our routines. I worked long hours at the marketing firm downtown, and she'd usually be busy with her own stuff, shopping, going out with her friends, the occasional spa day. But lately, I'd noticed she was acting weird. Little things at first. She'd be more distant, secretive about her phone, deleting messages, hiding her screen when I walked into the room. Nothing obvious, but enough for me to start feeling uneasy. It all started about 2 months ago, right after her birthday. She'd been acting even more irritable, snapping at me over small things. I remember asking her what was wrong, and she brushed me off, saying she was stressed at work. That's when I noticed she'd begun wearing this new perfume, one I didn't recognize. She also started changing her schedule. Suddenly, she was working late more often, claiming it was important deadlines or meetings. I trusted her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night, I was just sitting on the couch, flipping through my phone, when I saw her lock the bedroom door behind her. Usually, she'd just leave it open or lock it when she was changing, but this time, she made sure I wasn't around. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed she was unusually quiet during that time. No text messages, no calls, nothing. I told myself I was just paranoid. Still, I kept watching. About a week later, I found her phone on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping, well, maybe I was a little, but I saw a notification pop up on her screen. It was a message from a guy named Mark, her boss's name, actually. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just a little longer, babe," it read. My stomach dropped. I clicked into the message, and there were more flirty texts, photos, even one of her in a hotel bed with her head on some guy's shoulder. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife Emily in bed with her boss. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I didn't want to believe it at first, so I kept digging. I checked her emails, her social media. More photos, more messages. It was clear she'd been hiding this for a while. She was lying about working late, about going out with friends. She was sleeping with Mark and lying to my face about everything. I was furious, sick, and utterly betrayed. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the images in my head, her in that hotel bed, smiling like she didn't give a damn. I wondered how long she'd been cheating, how much she'd lied. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't ready. The rage was bubbling up inside me, but there was also this deep, aching sadness. I'd thought I knew her, and now I was pretty sure I didn't know her at all. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. I sat there in the dark, just staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd found. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it half-cocked or angry. I needed a plan. By midday, I was already brewing with anger, but I kept my cool. Emily was still acting her usual bitchy self, snapping at me over breakfast, making sarcastic remarks about my work like nothing was wrong. That's what made it so hard. She was walking around like everything was normal, like she hadn't been caught cheating. I played it calm, asked her how her day was, and kept trying to gauge her mood. I finally decided I'd have to face her head-on that evening. I couldn't let this slide, especially since I'd already seen enough to know she wasn't going to own up without a fight. I wanted her to tell me the truth, but I knew Emily. She'd lie her way out of it, deny everything, even if the evidence was right in front of her face. That's just her style. She's a master manipulator. When she got home, she was already in her bitchy mood, snapping at me for no reason, throwing her purse on the table. I kept my voice. Daddy told her I needed to talk. She rolled her eyes, but I pressed on. I told her I knew about Mark, about the hotel photos, about the messages. Her face changed in an instant, her eyes got defensive, her lips curled into that sneering smile she puts on when she's trying to lie her way out of something. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're imagining things. I don't know what you're talking about." I didn't buy it. I showed her my phone, the messages, the photos. Her reaction was even worse than I expected. She laughed that bitchy laugh and said, "Wow, so what? You're spying on me now? You're paranoid. Maybe you're the one cheating, huh? Maybe I should be the one asking questions." She looked me dead in the eyes and lied right to my face, claiming she was just working late, that Mark was just a friend, that I was jealous and insecure. That's when I snapped. I told her I wasn't stupid. I told her I'd been watching her, that I'd seen everything. She kept denying, kept throwing out excuses. She was tired, she was stressed, she was under a lot of pressure. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying and sleeping around with her boss. That's what really cut deep. How easily she could lie to my face, how little she seemed to care about what I was feeling. That moment was a mix of shock and anger. I never thought she'd do something so cruel, so calculated. I was hurt, but I also felt this intense fury. How dare she betray me like that, laugh in my face and keep lying? It was like a switch flipped. I told her I was done with her lies, done with the cheating. I said I needed some space to think. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, then shrugged and tossed her hair like she didn't care. That was the last straw. In that moment, I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. This wasn't just a fling or a mistake. It was a full-blown betrayal, and it was going to change everything. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew I needed to get away from her, figure out what I really wanted. She had made her choice, and I was starting to see my own path. Clearly one that didn't include her anymore. After I told Emily I needed space, she just shrugged like I hadn't said anything that mattered. Typical. She's always been good at turning things around, making it about her, twisting every situation to her favor. But I wasn't about to let her do that this time. I needed to think clearly, to process everything. I went to my office, closed the door, and just sat there staring at the wall. The first thing I felt was shock, pure raw shock. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly, so meanly? All those years, all the moments I thought we shared, just thrown aside like garbage. It was like I'd been living with a stranger, a manipulative, selfish stranger. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? How many times did she lie to my face without even blinking? It was a brutal realization. But then, after the initial shock, came the anger. Not just anger at her, but anger at myself too. Why did I not see it? Why did I trust her so blindly? I've been working late, she said. What a joke. She was probably with Mark, making a fool of me, thinking she was invincible. That thought made my blood boil. I'd always been the one working hard, providing, trying to be a good husband, and she'd just been screwing around behind my back like I was nothing. I started going through everything I could find again. Those messages, the photos, the times she'd been working late, the moments I'd brushed off as normal. I felt so stupid for not catching on sooner. I wanted to scream, cry, punch something. But all I could do was sit there, feeling the weight of betrayal crushing down on me. And yet underneath all that anger there was this deep sadness that I couldn't shake. I kept thinking about the good times, the moments I thought meant something. The trips we took, the nights we spent just talking and laughing. Was all of that just a lie? Did she ever care about me? Or was I just another fool she used to get ahead? The tears threatened to come, but I fought them back. I had to be strong. I had to think. I realized one thing that night. I couldn't just walk away without a plan. I had to decide what I wanted next, whether to fight for this or to cut her out completely. I knew her pretty well. She'd deny, lie, manipulate, but I had enough evidence now. She'd been caught. The question was, what did I want to do with that? My mind kept circling back to one thing: revenge. Not just to hurt her, but to make her feel as betrayed as I felt, to make her understand what she'd done. So I started to think about how I could do that. I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused, to understand she couldn't just screw around with my life and get away with it. I wasn't sure exactly how I'd pull it off yet, but I knew I'd have to be smart. I didn't want to just blow everything up blindly. I had to be methodical, precise. That's when I decided I'd start by gathering even more proof, digging into her phone, her social accounts, maybe even talking to some people she'd been close to, her friends, her coworkers. If she thought she could lie her way out of this, I was going to make sure she couldn't. As the night wore on, I felt the cold reality sinking in. This wasn't just a fling. Emily had been playing me for months, maybe longer. She'd been having sex with her boss, Mark, behind my back, and probably lying about it every step of the way. I didn't know how we'd fix this, if it was even fixable, but I knew one thing for sure. My pride was wounded, my trust was shattered, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Not without paying some kind of price. The next few days were a blur of planning and feeling like I was walking through a fog. I stayed busy, trying not to think about Emily or that sickening feeling of betrayal that kept gnawing at me. But I couldn't ignore the fact that I needed to do something. Ignoring it, pretending it wasn't real, wasn't going to fix anything. If anything, it was just feeding the anger inside me, making it worse. I started by going through her phone again, more carefully this time. I wanted every piece of evidence I could find: texts, photos, emails, anything that could give me a clearer picture of just how deep her lies went. I knew her pattern now. She liked to lie, cover her tracks, and act like nothing was happening. But I was determined to catch her in her own game. One night, I managed to get her phone while she wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but I needed to know what she was hiding. I started digging through her messages. That's when I found even more damning stuff: messages with Mark, explicit photos, plans for meetings. There was even a message where she told him to be careful or he'd get caught, which told me she knew what she was doing. The worst part was how casual she was about it, like it was just some game to her. It made my stomach turn. I also checked her social media accounts. She'd been posting pictures with her friends, but I knew better. Those friends were probably in on it or at least knew about her affair. She'd been so good at hiding her tracks, but I was catching everything. At this point, I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I just wanted her to own what she'd done. Even as I gathered all this evidence, I kept feeling the emotional weight of it, how much it hurt knowing she'd been lying and sleeping around with her boss. That bastard Mark, the guy who was supposed to be professional, was now just another piece of the puzzle. I had to decide what to do with all this. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. She'd crossed a line and I needed to make her pay somehow. I started to think about my options. I could confront her again, lay everything out in the open, and see if she'd finally admit it. Or I could do something more calculated, use this evidence against her in a way that made her realize how badly she'd screwed up. I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused, not just through words but through concrete proof. I knew I wasn't going to play her game anymore. This was about making her understand she'd lost me, her husband, because of her own lies and selfishness. One thing was clear: I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. I'd been too trusting, too naive. I'd let her manipulate me for too long, and now I was damn sure I'd get some kind of revenge. I didn't know what that looked like yet, but I was going to make her regret picking Mark over me. She thought she was clever, lying and cheating behind my back, but I was planning to turn that around. I'd make her see that her betrayal had consequences. Meanwhile, I kept reminding myself of the good times, the trust I'd once had, and how everything had gone south so fast. I didn't want to be the broken man, but I also couldn't pretend I wasn't hurt. Every new piece of evidence I uncovered just confirmed how deep her lies went. The more I found, the more I realized I'd have to be strategic if I was going to get my revenge. I wanted her to feel everything I felt: humiliation, betrayal, loss, and I was determined to make sure she did. By the time I had a solid stack of evidence, I knew I couldn't just confront Emily again and expect her to confess. No, this had to be different. I needed to make her realize I wasn't just some fool she could lie to anymore. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I had the proof to destroy her if I wanted to. But I also wanted to see her squirm, make her understand how badly she'd screwed up. So I started planning my move carefully. I didn't want to come off as the jealous husband who just lost his mind. I wanted her to see that I was in control, that I'd been patient and strategic, and now I was ready to strike. I decided I'd leave the evidence in plain sight, somewhere she'd find it naturally, because I knew she'd try to cover her tracks if I just threw things at her. I set up a fake email account, something anonymous, and sent her a message with just enough detail to make her panic. I told her I knew about Mark, about her lying, and that I had all the proof she'd been hiding. I didn't send it directly to her, but I made sure she'd find it on her own. I wanted her to see that I'd gone full detective on her, that I was serious. The moment she saw that message, her reaction was priceless. Her face twisted with panic, her bitchy smirk replaced with a look of genuine fear. She tried to deny it, of course, but I had the emails and photos to back everything up. I told her I knew she'd been sleeping with Mark in that hotel bed, that I had seen the messages and photos myself. I made her admit it finally, even if she still tried to lie her way out. What followed was a mess. She threw a tantrum, yelled, called me crazy, accused me of stalking her, said I was paranoid and insecure. But I didn't care. I stood there calm but firm and told her I was done playing her games. That I had enough evidence to end this entire thing, whether she liked it or not. I told her I wanted her gone from my life. She just looked at me with that fake poor me expression, trying to cry, trying to manipulate me. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. That night was the final straw. I packed a bag, told her I'd be staying at my brother's house for a while. I told her I wanted her to think about what she'd done, and I told her if she ever wanted to salvage what little respect I had left, she'd better come clean and be honest with me. I knew she wouldn't do that, but it was a final shot. She just snapped her head back and spat, "You're overreacting. You're crazy if you think I'd cheat on you." That was classic Emily: denial, blame, deflection. I just walked out, closing the door behind me. Honestly, I felt a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Part of me wanted to break down, scream, or punch something, but I knew I had to stay composed. I'd done everything I could to expose her, to make her see what she's lost. I wasn't sure what the future held from here, but I knew I wouldn't stay in that house with someone so selfish and manipulative. I deserved better, and I was finally starting to see that. The most important thing I learned through all this is that trust is fragile, and once it's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. Emily's betrayal opened my eyes to how much I had been blind. I thought I knew her, but I was just fooling myself. Now I'm left with the pieces: hurt, anger, a sense of loss, but also a small flicker of hope that I can rebuild, that I can move forward and find someone who won't lie to me, who won't cheat. That's what I'm clinging to now. And honestly, I'd tell anyone in my situation: pay attention to the signs and don't let yourself be the fool she thinks you are. When betrayal happens, you've got to fight back, not just for yourself, but to truly find out who's real and who's not. Since I left her that night, I've been trying to piece myself back together, though I won't pretend it's easy. Every time I think I'm getting better, some memory or detail comes rushing back, and I'm right back to feeling like I got hit in the gut. Trusting someone, especially with your entire life, and then finding out they were lying and screwing around behind your back. It's a betrayal that cuts so deep. It leaves scars you don't see but feel every single day. What's been worst isn't just the betrayal itself, but realizing how much I let her manipulate me, how much I ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe in the best of her. She always had that bitchy attitude, that "I don't care" look, and I guess I thought I could fix her, make her see reason. Turns out she was just good at hiding her real self behind a veneer of charm and sarcasm. I was blind, I was naive, and now I'm paying the price. The thing I keep telling myself is that I have to move on, that I can't let her ruin me entirely. But it's not easy. Some nights I lie awake replaying everything, feeling the anger and the sadness engulf me all over again. I think about how I deserved honesty, respect, loyalty, things I clearly didn't get. I wonder if I'll ever fully trust anyone again, or if I'll always be waiting for the next betrayal to come. What I do know is that I've learned a lot about myself, about what I want and don't want in a relationship. I've learned to listen to my gut, to see the signs early, and to walk away when something feels wrong. Because if I had done that from the start, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here, shattered and betrayed, writing this story for anyone out there who might be going through something similar. And here's the real truth: it hurts like hell, but I'm still alive. I'm still standing. I might be wounded, but I'll heal. I have to. I've realized that revenge, anger, or even regret won't bring her back or undo what happened. The only thing I can do now is focus on myself, rebuild what I can, and learn to trust again, carefully, slowly, with my eyes wide open. I don't hate her, that's not what this is about. It's about accepting what she did, learning from it, and moving forward. I hope one day she'll understand what she lost, but honestly, I don't care much about her anymore. What matters is that I finally see the truth and I'm taking the lessons with me. So if you're reading this and you're in a similar boat, my advice is simple. Don't ignore the signs, don't let yourself be blind. When you find out someone you love is cheating, it's going to hurt. Nothing can change that, but you can choose how to handle it. Stay calm, gather your evidence, and don't let her manipulate you into silence. Because the moment you confront and expose the truth, you're taking back a piece of yourself. And that, I promise, is worth more than any lie, any betrayal.